100 Thieves, bringing back one of Dom's favorite players. No, I'm not talking about Soy Luigi. I'm talking about Tommy Boy, back from the depths of Academy, replacing Tanner Time. Ryoma into the roster, and they go 0-2 in their first 2 games before they're able to eke out a win in game number 3 of the week for them. Dom, quick assessment here, overall assessment here of Ryoma being inserted back into the 100 Thieves lineup. That's right. Get those Tommy feels good, man, right in the chat, please.
I mean, look, it just looks like Tommy's playing mid. I mean, it just is what it is. Like, I don't think that playing with Tommy suddenly means you have like some great control mage player. So I don't really understand the change that much. I mean, I know that Damonte inted on his control mages the week before, but I don't feel like Ryoma's lane phase is gotten any better, really. Like when you see him play control mage into like an Echo, for example, he's getting a lot of help and still not even really winning out on CS, and they end up throwing the game anyway. Shockwaves were really bad in that game for the Orianna. And then I don't really understand like the picks either, right? Like if you're going to play something like Sylas, like number one, I don't understand Sylas in the game at all. I mean, maybe LS can explain to me the drafting there, but I don't understand Sylas in the game at all. It looks to me like so when you're playing into Orianna is one of the hardest matchups for Sylas. There was no good ults for him to steal. Like normally you want to see like an Alistar or a Hecarim or some ult that's really, really good on Sylas when you're playing it. But he picked it as a counter pick into Orianna, so he counterpicked himself, and then he just went down 30 CS in lane. So I really don't understand like the drafting or what they're trying to accomplish with the Ryoma change.
Yeah, I don't understand what it is either. When I talked about it with like Nemesis and Crowny on stream, I think that what we hypothesized is that I think this is a legitimate hypothesis. That maybe Damonte says things in game that agitates some of the other players, or the way that he wants to go about things is not on the same page with the other 4 or the other 3 or whoever, right? And even if Ryoma just shuts up and just plays a game, it's somehow better, or it's easier for the others to function. It's all conjecture, right? We can't actually know, but what we can know is that he's a very weak mid laner. That's just what is going on in the games. So I don't understand. I don't understand the point for the change.
Maybe it's one of those feels. I mean, it could be one of those feels good changes, right? Like where it's like, oh, we have, the team is slumping. We just need to change something. This is the one thing we can change that keeps everything kind of similar, because both mid laners can't like play control mages really. So, we did our change, have some new blood in there, some new energy, and, maybe that'll help get us out of the slump. Maybe it's that.
Right. Well, yeah, and I wanted to position it after, a lot of people took a look at this change, specifically, I think Tim Seven Houston, who does Oracle Elixir, one of the analytical minds of LCS analysts, as well as I think Kelsey Moser also pushed this idea as well. It's early on in the year, the overall year. You get him a full week of 3 matches in the LCS. He's been doing well in Academy. And it kind of makes sense to make this move now. We've covered the struggles that Damonte has faced here in terms of his mages compared to what his TF, his Galio, Kiana. Am I missing one that he's been pretty good at?
Who, Damonte? Wait, what did you say? Which ones did you say?
TF, Galio, and Kiana. I mean, he hasn't even played Kiana, but
Yeah, I mean, it's just those types of champions. Like, he's just good at playmaking champions. I mean, this is my take, and this is what I want 100 Thieves to start doing, is I want them to accept the mid laner that they have on their team and try to see as far as, like, that style of play will go. Because we see in LPL, Doinb, for example, he's able to pick all the champions that I think Damonte would be good on, like Nocturne mid, Kled mid, like Rumble mid, like these playmaking champions. And have that be your style, where you have, like, the utility base, like, playmaking mid laner, and don't just like don't be forced to play control mages versus like TSM and C9 and these players that will, like, in crunch time will play better than you. So I would just love to see like 100 Thieves buckle down on that style, man. Play like they have Damonte, play TF, play Galio, play Sion, play Kled, play Nocturne, play all these champions. Also, a bunch of those AD champions, they work well. Lilia, which is a high prio champion in the meta. Karthus jungle is coming back. You can run like Karthus Nocturne comps, where the Karthus goes jungle, the Nocturne goes mid, have a lot of pressure. When the Nocturne goes to roam, the Karthus eats waves. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of options you have, and it feels like 100 Thieves is just afraid to buckle down on that style. They're like, we can't win if we don't play control mages. Where I feel actually like if they try to play super standard and they try to play like just completely standard comps versus like C9s, TLs, TSMs in playoffs, I think they're just going to end up losing. So I feel like they
Just
need to
versions.
actually,
yeah,
to like play to their own player strengths to have the best result.
Yeah, and we've seen that happen in Damonte's career when he did it over at Clutch, right? Clutch was like, hey, 10-minute Herald, let's set that up. Okay, I'm just going to play Kiana because I'm going to leave that open and people are just going to allow me to do that. And that got them to Worlds. They were the number 3 seed at that time for NA. So with I think a pretty solid roster here, you got Someday in the top lane instead of Huni on that Clutch Gaming roster. I think that's something that Thieves can double down on. But it feels like if there was a week to do it, maybe last week, this week, I don't think is too bad either, because now you have the decision. You got to see Tommy Boy beat up on Academy, get a shot over at LCS, and you still find this stilted success here. So now week 6 and moving into playoffs, you have a decision, because either way, I think both mid laners aren't going to have like an attitude issue, right? Like LS, you've been as a coach, when you're dealing with roster change and roster moves, like at what point do you make those moves and then solidify something, and when can you experiment?
I mean, well, I never dealt with roster change. I mean, my experience dealing with roster changes was Saint Vicious turning around and asking when we start scrimming, and then the general manager looking at me and then looking at him and then asking Saint to go talk. Oh my god.
Nice.
I mean, it was terrible, right? And that was my first experience in LCS, but I haven't dealt with
That was your first experience?
Yep. That was my first experience in LCS. Yeah, I haven't dealt with like roster changes like on the scope of like what LCS and LEC and other stuff are dealing with. I mean, I guess in BBQ, right? We had players that were like swapping roles and stuff, but the stuff that like we see from like behind the scenes, or like the stuff that comes out in like manifestos on Twitter, or like by comments and stuff like that, I've never seen anything like it. But then again, I mean, I also have always gotten along with what people call historically very toxic people, right? I'm very friendly with Malice, and I've never had issues with Malice. I've always said that Malice
guy's a cunt.
Dude, well, I mean, yeah, but like Forgiven as well, Selfie, right? Forgiven, Selfie, Malice, like players with like renowned problematic reputations. I've never had any issues with. I've always said that Malice was always a sweetheart, and he was the best teammate on BBQ out of everyone. And the Koreans felt that way. I mean, all the Koreans were still fucking here, like welcome to my orphanage. But yeah, I've never dealt with it. I think that it's I'm not gonna.
I mean, look.
Go ahead, Dom. Go.
Look, I mean, if I was Damonte and I got replaced by Ryoma, I probably would not be very happy. Like, I feel like that, like, probably because I mean, he was the person that was also the like emotional leader of the team from all aspects that we saw. So to me, it's like, I don't know. I think it's a really risky move because I don't actually think they're going to end up going with Ryoma long term. Like, he still just looks like Ryoma. He doesn't look any different than he did before. And I still don't think it fixes any of the problem. Like, let's say you go into a best of 5 and you got Ryoma playing Azir versus Power of Evil playing Ori. Do you ever feel like you're going to have mid lane advantage in the game? Like, I don't think so. Like, I would not want to. Like, if I was closer and I just went into the game, I'm like, shit, I better fucking smurf or this game is doomed. Like, that's how I would feel. So I don't actually think this accomplishes that much unless, like, they really have a super low opinion of Damonte, or they're just unwilling to, like, play the style that maybe Damonte wants to play. Or they just think that like he's just toxic in a team environment, something like that.
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess we'll never know, right? We'll never know unless we're in those chats or had some sort of insider information. But as you said, the emotional leader of those guys, I think it was a move that you can make if you've got a mid laner and you want to see what he's got, and then you come back to him. If Damonte takes it on the chin, is like, sure, I'll come back and I'll prove you wrong, and you know, he might have the opportunity to do that because Ryoma didn't win the job, right? He didn't win it in his LCS performance.
I mean, they went 1-2, man. And the only win they had, it was Golden Guardians, and he's down 30 CS in lane. Like, I don't know, man. I guess that was the performance you want.